Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to another episode here at the podcast. Today, we have a special guest with us today, and she's going to tell us a little bit about herself and her ambition and goal to become the next mayor of the great city of Bridgeport. Do you mind introducing yourself?
I'm Marilyn Moore. I'm a state senator. This is my 5th term as a state senator. I've lived in Bridgeport my entire life. I have 3 children, adults, 9 grandchildren and 3 great-grandchildren. I love this city. I've been a fighter from day one for people, for their rights, and trying to be an advocate and opening doors. And I believe that I have all the skills that I've built up over the last 40 years to walk in to City Hall and be ready to hit the ground running. I'm not looking for a career. I've had several successful careers. I started in a telephone company, lowest paying job. When I left, I had started their long distance company and their cellular company, and I elevated a lot of people into management, into other jobs to help their families grow and help them be productive. And when I left the telephone company, I started a nonprofit for breast cancer. I'm not a survivor and I don't have a history, but I did witness firsthand what was happening in the healthcare system. I worked for Planned Parenthood 7 years doing outreach for them for breast and cervical cancer, and saw some horrible things for Black and brown people and uninsured people, and the services that they did not get that their white counterparts did get. So I thought the best thing I could do is be an advocate for them, and I did that, and over the course of almost 20 years helped over 20,000 women in the state of Connecticut get free mammograms, clinical breast exam, and Pap tests. I later went on to run for Senate. In my first year that I ran, I led the fight for 15 minimum wage to increase the wages. I met so many men and women who were working multiple jobs, and I thought to myself, if they're working 2 or 3 jobs, who's home with the kids? We have all these problems, and parents are just trying to stay alive and feed their family and have a roof over their heads. And I said, I can help move that. And I'm proud to say that we did move the needle to get it to $15, and that passed, and now we are at $15 minimum wage. Now the fight should be 21 for everyone, moving on. As the Senate Chair of Housing, I passed the largest bill in the last 20 years to improve housing and increase housing throughout the state.
Okay, so you seem to have a very extensive resume and tons of experience. How do you think those experience will align with you becoming the next mayor of the great city of Bridgeport?
You know, people, I've heard this my whole life, but I've watched it happen. It's who you know and your connections. I have a stellar reputation in Hartford among other legislators, with the governor, with people who could help the city of Bridgeport. I want to use those connections and those relationships and my reputation to bring funds back to Bridgeport, to get assistance in many places, not just money, but sometimes it's about knowing where to go, who can open up a door, and I have that ability to do that. As the chair of bonding, I brought back millions and millions and millions of dollars back to Bridgeport just for economic development and for safety, public safety, and gun violence prevention. That shows that I can get it done. It's more than anybody else has brought back care for gun violence prevention. So those connections, that reputation that I have, and the knowledge that I have, all those things will help when we open the doors for Bridgeport to be a more productive city and to get things done.
So let's talk about your running platform, and why is this so important for you and for the people as well?
You know, there's a lot of things I could be doing. I could be traveling around the world. I could be sitting on the beach, but I love this city. I've tried to build a platform in the areas that I believe that we're deficient. The most important one, I believe, is accountability and transparency in this administration. And for case in point, I'll just talk about the recent decision for the building that used to be Mario Testa's no longer becoming available to do the housing that they want to do, right? Now, that points to this administration not having the proper people in place to vet those projects. That is a problem with the administration overall, that we don't have the skilled people, we don't have people doing their job thoroughly to make sure we don't have these types of bumps in the road. I feel as though who is in City Hall doing the work isn't doing their job. So I believe in transparency, being honest with people if we've made a mistake, pointing out that we've made a mistake and how we're going to move forward, and then holding people accountable. And that's one thing that's lacking. The other is I'd like to do more housing for affordable, low income and low income. There are millions and millions of dollars available through the state of Connecticut to help developers do housing. But one of the pushbacks sometimes can be when they go to City Hall, when they go to planning, when they go to get any type of documents, that people don't return their phone calls in economic development, hard to do business with. So they move out and they go to Fairfield, and they go to Trumbull, and they go to Shelton, but they're not building here. And economic development is more than just building, it's creating jobs. And I don't mean part-time summer temporary jobs. I'm talking about good paying jobs that can sustain families and encourage people to come. The other is the education system. We've hired what I believe is going to be a really good superintendent of schools. We need to work with her and the Board of Education. There are people up for those seats. We need to put the best people available in those seats for the Board of Education. And then as mayor, I need to make sure that any fat that I have, I cut back on. And I make sure those people, that money is put into education. So I want to make sure that if there's any dollars that are available, that I dedicate them to education.
Okay, and so let's just talk a little bit more briefly about your running platform with starting with education. What would your plans be to provide more funds for education?
So when you look at, I think there's about 190 appointees that the mayor gets to make. I'm not sure what that dollar amount comes to, but that is the first place that I would look to see where is there a duplication of efforts, or where are people really not doing their job. I would take that fund and I would give it to the Board of Education. Then, the board sits down and the superintendent, and they submit a budget. I want to work very closely with them to make sure that they get the dollars that they need from the city. The state gives us money, but I want to make sure that the city is committed to giving those education dollars to the Board of Education so they can do the job that they need to do. We lack paraprofessionals, English as a second language, we need help there. We need to make sure that all of our children have the same opportunities and that there's equity in our education system.
So what would your strategy be to improve public safety here in the city of Bridgeport?
I think gun violence is off the chain right now, not just in Bridgeport and a lot of our cities. I think that's a great concern, especially in the public housing. I've already started that path by bringing in dollars for lighting in public housing to upgrade the lighting. I've bought in several $1 million, $2 million last year, about $2 million this year just for Bridgeport, for nonprofits to hire kids, train, create activities, and make sure that money is available to get our kids off the street. Sometimes it's about our kids seeing there's something more than what they see every single day. So sometimes a lot of these organizations will take them on trips so they can see other things, college tours, to the museum, to parks, bring people in like Michael J. White, get them into acting, get them into music. We need to understand that the world that we lived in 25 years ago is not the world we live in now. These kids can get really great jobs and training by going into many other fields in entertainment, and that's going to be a growing economy. And also social media. I see young people doing TikTok making thousands and thousands of dollars. We just need to train our kids, and we need to show them those opportunities. So that is part of the problem we need to do more of that, and we need to be able to sustain it, that we have these programs available all the time. That's the safety that I worry about, the safety for the children, right? And then, I think about the environment in the way of safety, our streets and our sidewalks, making sure that they're taken care of and that we don't have to worry about people falling or people getting hit by cars. All of those things are part of public safety. I'm not talking about policing, because now we have a police chief who I believe is going to work with what he has, and he's got limited resources, but we have to make Bridgeport a place where people want to be a police person. And we have to make sure that we're bringing in people who live in Bridgeport, not just coming from out of the city, but people who are invested and care about the city. And when you live here, I think you care more about the city than someone who's coming from out the city, but you also have greater knowledge of the environment, of the children, of the culture, and people can feel like, I know this guy, he lives on my street. So more of that we need.
What's your approach to providing more housing, and more importantly, affordable housing here in the city?
There are millions of dollars available through the governor for people to buy for the first time. They'll give you 25% in time to own in this program that he has, right? We also have many houses that are run down and dilapidated that can't be considered for Section 8. But what I've done in the last session is put $150 million in bonding that we could retrofit older houses. And that's putting energy efficient products in them. I just watched what it means to upgrade a house from something that had gas, right, to electricity. And you can do heat pumps, you could do windows, you could do doors. That's how we're going to build up stock that's existing. And then there's all these open lots that nobody's developing on because they're holding on to them, waiting to sell them. The city can take those by eminent domain and build housing. We need to build affordable, but we need a mix. We need affordable, we need low income, and then we need the low income, that people who are not on public assistance but can't afford to pay $2,000 a month when they're only bringing in $3,000 a month for income, right? And there's many subsidies. I want to work with the Department of Housing and some of these organizations that build housing to create more housing.
How would you attract more business with good paying jobs here to the city?
It's not just one thing that you'd have to do to do that. First of all, you'd have to make this administration one that people want to do business with, and that they know when they come here they're going to get the services that they need. And then it has to be a safe place. Nobody wants to build someplace if it's not going to be safe, right? And then you want to make sure that anybody who's building, you understand it's a partnership. It's long-term. We're not looking to give away the city. We want to work with those developers when they come in. And then we want to support them when they come in. But the partnership is not just between the city and the developer. The partnership is with the city, the developer, the state of Connecticut, and some of these housing projects, authorities that are going to have to relocate people. So for the Greens Apartments, they decided they're going to take it down. Before you take that housing project down, you need to know that there are places for those people to move to. And I don't mean out of the city, I mean within the city, and you're not displacing them, taking them away from their family, their friends, their churches, the kids' schools, that you're finding a place here. So we should be building right now affordable housing to take those people in, and then tear the housing projects down. And when we build it, build something that's really beautiful, looks like community. I've seen it in other places. I've seen it in Stamford. We just are really shortchanging the people who live here by not building beautiful homes that are affordable for people who are low income.
Why do you think more business investments haven't been established in the city like the other major cities in the state?
We have a lack of investment because of this administration, because we don't have people in there doing their jobs, a lot of mishaps, a lot of people don't answer the phones. I think a lot of people just don't have the skill set. I just met some people who are working for economic development for people, and I asked every single one. They said they worked for economic development. I asked every single one, what did you do? 2 of them couldn't even tell me. And so that says to me, if you can't tell me what you do, you just got a job, right? We need skilled people. You know, these kids are coming out of college with all this information, urban planning. That's what needs to be here. People not thinking the old way, but people with great ideas that can bring them to the table and discuss them and say, here's an idea I have. What we lack here is vision and imagination. You can't expect other people to come into your town with a vision. The leader has to have a vision. The leader has to have imagination and has to follow through on all of that to make sure it's getting done. I think we need a 10-year plan, and I know that there's a plan B someplace on a shelf. I think when we do those plans that we need to stick to them and say, this is what we're going to do. Make adjustments as we go along, as sometimes things change. Sometimes it gets worse, sometimes it gets better. But have a plan on what you're projecting for the next 10 years. So when a mayor walks out after 4 years, whether he's not reelected or is reelected, there's something that you're following through on that you started. It shouldn't be every 4 years there's a new plan and a new project. You should be building out what you've done, because for the next 10 years, you should have a vision to say, this is what the city is going to look like. And I haven't seen that in the last 10 years.
Yeah. And for the average resident here in Bridgeport who are working a 9 to 5 and maybe working a part-time job, taking care of their family and doing their other obligations, what would you tell them the role of city government is?
This is really interesting because I don't think people even understand the role of a state senator. I'm a lawmaker. I'm a lawmaker, and I'm to bring back dollars to the city. The CEO for this city should be one who is putting together a plan for the city to build, to keep them safe, to make sure the people are educated. That is the duties of that person. And that CEO of the city, who is the mayor, should be hiring people who have those skill sets, who can bring those things together. But they all should be working with the community. And one of the things that I want to be able to do is not just put together a transition team. I want to put together a real diverse group of people in the way of age, education, demographics, all those together, sit down and say, you are my team. Give me feedback. This is what I said I'm going to do. I'd like to hear some of the things that you'd like for your neighborhood. I look at downtown Bridgeport, and yeah, it looks really great. But you know, there's 6 or 7 other neighborhoods. We're all waiting to see, what are you going to do for our neighborhood, right? So I want to work together with all of the people in the community and create these teams of people. They have NRZs right now, but I don't know that the NRZs are really being heard or anything's getting done in those neighborhoods. It is my job as the mayor of Bridgeport to work with all of those people and have regular meetings where I'm discussing your plans and what you want to do. But I also have to work with the city council people. So it's a large team of people that we need to work with. But I think right now we work in a vacuum, and the only time you really see something moving is just before an election. I just wonder, after the election, are we going to see that type of movement?
Okay, so if elected the next mayor of the great city of Bridgeport, would you be in favor or oppose a change to the city charter?
I want to see the charter changed. I really did support it the last time when the city council put it forth. And because you have people on city council who can be manipulated, it didn't go through. But that would be one of the things that I would tell you that I would support if it's going to be a new city council, right? That needs to be one of the questions people are asking them right now, because I don't create it, they do. People should be asking those candidates right now, do you support a new city charter?
So Bridgeport seemed to have had a dark cloud over the city for many, many years. And one of the main reasons is because of the lack of transparency. So elected the next mayor of Bridgeport, how would you go about doing this?
I hate that thing about the dark cloud over Bridgeport. Some people say we have a curse on us, that we can't move forward. But you know what? We are the people. I think it's not just about the mayor. I think it's about the people standing up. You know, I fight for people all of the time, and I'm okay. I still have everything that I need. I can't be bought. I will not be bought. People need to stand up what's right. You know, the few pieces of coin that people get to not do their job, it's not worth it because generations are suffering. And we have the proof of that right now when we see generations suffering and we don't see young people coming back to the city. It is up to the people. I will carry the banner, I will fight for people, but I need the people to stand up for themselves also. This is not just my city, this is our city. And if we care about it, the only thing we can do is band together and fight for our city. Fight for the people who want to fight for you. Don't fight for the people who want to get elected and just be elected. Fight for people who have a proven record that they are always willing to stand in truth, always be transparent, even if it's not popular to do, that they're standing up for the people and not for themselves.
So when the people hear the name Senator Marilyn Moore and candidate Marilyn Moore, what do you want to resonate with them?
I want them to think about my history of fighting for them and not giving in to the politics. I really hate it when people say I'm a politician, right? I don't want them to think that. I want them to think of a woman of integrity and honesty and a fighter.
Okay, and being a lifelong resident of the city of Bridgeport, can you give the viewers a little insight of your leisure time of what you do when you're not out there fighting for people? So let's say you have family members who come in Friday afternoon and leaving Sunday afternoon. What would you do with them here in the city?
Well, and I really love my house, and I've put in a beautiful patio on the backyard and bought some furniture, and I've been decorating, doing that so I can celebrate my house and my family and have many. But if I would take them anyplace, I would love if we had a trolley, and we had one at one time, to take them around the city and let them see. Seaside Park is so beautiful, right? I take them down to Seaside Park. I'd love for them to go to the Discovery Museum up on Park Avenue. And then my favorite place is the Beardsley Zoo. My granddaughter had a baby shower there, and it was just absolutely beautiful. We have a lot of beautiful gems that are really not promoted, and you know, I think people take it for granted that it's just there, but I believe that these are great places in the city of Bridgeport that don't cost a lot for us to go and enjoy.
Okay, and how can people volunteer or even donate to your campaign?
I have a campaign headquarters, and I'd love people to come out and make phone calls or help me with my petitions, anything they want to do. We're at 309 Washington Avenue. My website is Marilyn for Bridgeport, and I welcome everybody to come out. And I have, it's marilynforbridgeport@gmail.com if you want to email me.
So when people hear the name Marilyn Moore, what should they think about?
Hashtag Marilyn for Bridgeport.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Moore, for taking time out your busy schedule to come here on this platform and talk about your platform. I wish you nothing but the best come September.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.